What if I lived in a world that was designed for me? A world that took into consideration my needs. What if I lived in a world where, as a woman, it's okay to be free? That my self-worth and place in society was not determined by my attachment to a man. What if I lived in a world where it was okay for women to explore all of themselves as a singular whole and not the half to another? What if I lived in a world that understood the ebbs and flows of my hormonal world? What if I lived in a world that took into consideration the changing of my own needs? What if I lived in a world where women saw each other as their support? We craved the love of our sisters above the love of a singular. What if I lived in a world where it was okay to explore me? I wonder, would I have allowed the abuses of the relationships I found myself in, where despite my desire to leave, the expectations of society felt heavier around my neck? What if I lived in a world where my value was not determined by my production of a child that is tied to another? What if I lived in a world where my individualism as a woman is enough? I don't live in a world like that. I don't live in a world that takes into consideration my needs. So I shall create that world for myself, and I shall make choices to interact with the external world as I please, according to the ebbs and flows of my own cycle. You see, the only path to freedom is to sever myself from the expectations of the society for which I reside. You see, the only path to freedom is when I realize that the love of myself is enough, and therefore I do not expose myself to second-hand love, to inadequate love, to find my own place and standing in society. I choose to live in my own world. So external world, when you see me, do not take it for granted, for you will not see me always. For the world in which I reside has natural ebbs and flows. So when it is time for me to retreat, I will retreat into my world. I make the choices for myself, for I live in a society that was not designed for me.